Live every day as if it were the last, because before you know it, time goes past and life's just not that long. Tell all you love that you love them so, because even if you do, they might not know, and one day we'll all be gone. Taste the wind, don't let it blow on by.
Our Mother Earth is our only home. The worst place on earth for us to live is better than the best place on any of our sun's other planets. No animal, no plant for millions of years has sickened and poisoned our Mother Earth as we human beings have, especially so-called educated, civilized human beings the past several hundred years. Our poisons have made Mother Earth sick and drunk. Drunk people cannot walk steady. Drunk people cannot walk straight. And our drunk Mother Earth sways and staggers from extreme to extreme, from more floods to more droughts, from severe heat waves to record cold. Our Mother Earth staggers drunk on the deadly poisons we in this modern world are stupidly addicted to. Will we wake up? Will we make huge changes now in how we live to keep our Mother Earth from getting much sicker? Or will Mother Earth eventually shake us off? Will billions of us die as she stumbles drunk? The Earth as a planet will survive regardless, in some condition. But how many of us human beings will survive? How many of us will suffer early death, miserable death? Do we give a damn? We choose every day in how we live, what we buy, how we travel, how much we travel, what we eat. We must not bullshit ourselves with space travel and living on other planets fantasies. We must not bullshit ourselves with addiction to virtual make-believe crap on the internet. Many highly educated scientists swallow make-believe answers to the climate emergency and to the awful risk of nuclear holocaust. Many highly educated scientists know many facts and figures about this severe climate crisis, this climate emergency. But sadly, how many have made big changes in how they live because of what they know? Have we made big changes? Many children have imaginary friends they talk to, especially if they have few real playmates. Many children have imaginary friends they talk to, especially if every day they suffer constant hell at home. And many adults have their imaginary friend, God in the heavens. Many adults pour out their hearts, their whole lives, to this imaginary friend, God. They pray for help in many serious situations. And if their imaginary friend, God in the heavens, does not help them, these sincere believers will defend their imaginary friend God with all kinds of excuses. It was not God's will. God is testing my faith. In the next life after death, I will understand why God chose not to do what I prayed for. Many excuses why God, their imaginary friend, did not help them in desperate situations. In many places, for hundreds of years, I could have been tortured, locked up, or killed by a mob of believers of whatever religion for saying what I've just said now publicly on this program. I humbly confess, I was a sincere young Christian preacher 55 years ago, and for many years I publicly prayed to, preached about, sang about in many different churches this imaginary friend, God in the heavens. With much help from many, many people, I slowly woke up to my religious fantasy, my religious delusion. And at special family meals, my grandparents on my father's side called on me when I was a young man to pray the blessing before we all ate. I'm no longer a believer in this imaginary friend in the heavens. I regret, I apologize for advertising this make-believe imaginary friend, God. Now, don't get me wrong. I wish very much that we had a fair, loving, all-powerful, real parent God who helped all people on earth who desperately pray for help in some awful situations. But I refuse to swallow and advertise feel-good, make-believe. I want truth. In 1976, my grandparents, my father's parents, were shot and killed by a severely disturbed 18-year-old white man. And afterwards, some of us family went to the funeral home to pick out their coffins. And an older man who knew them, a friend of theirs, who worked at that funeral home, said, "Here is one with an innerspring mattress." And maybe this man sadly had no idea how insane, how wrong what he said was. Why should any person on earth, no matter how much we love them, why should any person on earth have an innerspring mattress for their decaying dead body? when millions of living children lie homeless on the ground, cold and hungry. Many years ago, my mother said about my dad, "I know him like a book." And another time, she said about my dad, "I will never understand that man if I live to be 100. And for all of us, often in long-term relationships, no matter how difficult and stormy those relationships may be, we can feel that way, knowing someone so well in many ways, but sometimes surprised and shocked by something they say, something they do. And this is even true, of course, of ourselves. Sometimes we are surprised, we are shocked, but by what we said, by what we did. As a kid in school, I was chosen last or almost last for a team. But now, at almost 76, I wonder if any of my living high school athlete classmates walk and exercise as much as I do. I changed. We can wake up. We can change. I'm strongly sexually attracted to certain lean, healthy, physically fit men. So I work every day to be lean, healthy, physically fit myself. Someone with a healthy body living below the poverty level is far richer, infinitely richer than any billionaire who has an unhealthy body. No luxury cars are as precious as a healthy body. No high-tech gadgets are as precious as a healthy body. No computers, no expensive cruises in the Mediterranean are as precious as a healthy body. No $1 million or $5 million mansions are as precious as a healthy body. The most important material possession we each have from birth to death is our body. Why do millions of people take far better care of their house than their body? Why do millions of people take far better care of their car than their body? Why do millions of people take far better care of their yard, their lawn, than their body? Why do millions of people take far better care of their pets than their body? Why? Up to 95% of the poison chemical pesticides that most people in the United States consume come from eating meat, cheese, ice cream, and drinking milk. Why? When the cows, the pigs, the chickens eat crops that are sprayed and grown with poison chemical pesticides, those poison chemicals concentrate in the animal's meat, the animal's milk, and other dairy products. And then when people eat the meat, the ice cream, the cheese, drink the milk, they get a concentrated dose of poison chemicals, usually without knowing it. The further up the food chain, the more chemicals concentrate. If we eat no meat, no dairy, only plant foods, we avoid up to 95% of the poison chemical pesticides most people in this country eat day after day, year after year. Having a fat belly lowers the sex hormone testosterone. Booze and cigarettes lower the sex hormone testosterone. Soy products can lower the sex hormone testosterone. I eat no soy, I drink no booze, I smoke no cigarettes. I do not eat the sugar shit that makes fat bellies. Why pay those filthy rich companies to lower my sex hormone testosterone? Why pay those filthy rich companies to slowly kill me? Living tomorrow is not guaranteed to me. It's not guaranteed to you. Living tomorrow is not guaranteed to anyone on earth, no matter how much money they have, no matter how famous. To hear some people talk about what they're going to do next month, or in 2 years, or in 10 years, or in their retirement, they seem to assume they will be alive. But none of us know for sure. No one knows. How foolish. When talking about something in the future, if it's tomorrow or 5 years from now or whenever, I often say, if I'm alive and able, or I aim to do, or I hope to, or I plan to, no one can say for sure about their future. Our lives can change, our lives can end in an instant when we least expect it. If I'm healthy in body and mind, I aim to live and love passionately until the day I die, if possible. Would a marathon runner want to slow down as he or she gets closer to the finish line? If I'm alive and healthy in body and mind, why would I want to slow down as an activist? An activist against war, an activist against paying federal income tax for war, an activist for living simply, an activist for living fairly? Why would I want to slow down as an activist for eating healthy, for living healthy, for gay liberation, for naked body freedom? Why would I want to slow down as I get closer to my finish line, my death? I eat raw, unfiltered, local honey. 1 teaspoon 2 or 3 times a day. Raw, unfiltered honey helps both, believe it or not, diarrhea and constipation. Raw, unfiltered honey helps ulcers, infections, helps to prevent cancer. Raw, unfiltered honey helps Alzheimer's, coughs, colds, flu. Raw, unfiltered honey helps cramps and hangovers. And if you have any kind of open wound, put raw, unfiltered honey on that wound and cover it with a dressing. Change that dressing once a day. When the wound is still oozing fluid, and when it's no longer oozing fluid, change the dressing on that wound once a week. But never give raw honey to babies under 18 months old. Never. Raw, unfiltered honey helps harmonize our liver, helps relieve pain, helps heartburn. Raw, unfiltered honey helps fatigue, high blood pressure, mucus congestion. Raw, unfiltered honey helps lose fat. Raw, unfiltered honey helps alcoholism, hay fever, allergies, anemia, asthma. Raw, unfiltered honey prevents blood sugar swings, helps cancer, better sex, good eyesight, arthritis, our heart, kidney, and insomnia. But make sure that it's raw, unfiltered honey, preferably local. There are many beekeepers in the Albuquerque area. Get it from them. Never cook the raw honey. When a person rich in money and a person poor in money fall in love, often come big problems because of that big difference in money between the person who has a lot and the person who has little. The person rich in money can wonder, would this other person want me? Really want me? If I did not have all this money and this stuff? And the person poor in money, but maybe rich in every other way, can wonder, would I be so attracted to this other person if he or she were not rich in money and stuff? Am I a leech? Am I a gold digger? Is this person rich in money trying to buy my love? Is this person rich in money trying to make sure I will never leave? Many serious problems can come between a person rich in money and a person poor in money when they fall in love. I enjoy living simply. I enjoy living simply below the U.S. poverty level. And if I'm in love with someone who has much more money, much more stuff than I do, they never need wonder if I'm after their money. Hell no. Never, never, never. One of my most painful early childhood memories, a hazy memory, makes me especially aware of how violent I can be, how violent anyone can be. I was about 5 years old. I was in a temper tantrum. I went to the pantry of our Illinois farmhouse. I got the large butcher knife to frighten, threaten, harm my mother. I'm glad my mother did not curse me afterward. I'm glad my mother did not spank me or beat me. But I wish she had taken my rage more seriously. I wish she had held me firmly in her arms, assuring me of her love for me and her understanding my anger, while at the same time, by holding me tight, controlling my violent impulse, holding me tight until my rage passed. Whether that took 15 minutes or 3 hours, not hitting me and not allowing me to hurt her. Now, maybe she did some of this. It's a hazy memory. I don't remember clearly. And one of our worst fears that many people never talk about is not being able to control our violent impulses, especially toward our closest loved ones. And this memory, from when I was about 5 years old, this very painful memory, has haunted me, has hounded me, has humbled me through the years. And none of us is immune to killing someone, even a long-time loved one, in a moment of insane rage. If anyone could have told Judge Gerald Cole, a white man here in Albuquerque, when he was in his Albuquerque courtroom, that he would later kill his wife and himself. August 13th, 2005. How could this white man, Judge Gerald Cole, have believed it? He might have said, why, I'm not like that. Only the rejects of society do such evil things. No. We are all, sadly, capable of terrifying violence, even toward our closest loved ones. Because I know that about myself, and because I aim to live non-violently toward all people, including my enemies, I refuse to own any gun. I refuse to drink booze. What could be worse than waking up in a jail cell, not remembering that the night before you stabbed or shot your best friend, your spouse? I condemn glamorized murder and rape and jealousy and revenge and addiction to money, addiction to unnecessary possessions, addiction to war. In many movies, sadly, a huge percentage of the movies made in New Mexico and made in Hollywood and made all over this nation glamorize murder and rape or jealousy or revenge or addiction to money and unnecessary possessions or war. Why poison our minds? I refuse to make it easier for me to commit the violence that I hate, that I reject. Wear and tear arthritis is also known as osteoarthritis. It's the degeneration of those joints we use daily in the knees, hips, shoulders. And this can start for many people in their late 40s. Why? Weakening muscles and weight gain worsen this condition in the joints, wear and tear arthritis. And according to the Arthritis Foundation, this is nothing I dreamed up. According to the Arthritis Foundation, being just 10 pounds overweight puts an extra 15 to 50 pounds of pressure on your knees. I'm going to repeat that. According to the Arthritis Foundation, being just 10 pounds overweight puts an extra 15 to 50 pounds of pressure on the knees. United States federal income tax dollars have supported dictators whose soldiers have raped women in the presence of their family members. The United States federal income tax dollars have supported dictators whose soldiers have burned sexual organs with acid and scalding water. United States federal income tax dollars have supported dictators whose soldiers have placed rats into women's vaginas and into the mouths of prisoners. Do you hear that on network TV? Do kids learn that horrible evil in their schools? Not usually. United States federal income tax dollars have supported dictators whose soldiers have mutilated, punctured, and cut off victims' genitals, cut out eyes and tongues. You ever hear this discussed in Congress? United States federal income tax dollars have supported dictators whose soldiers have injected air into women's breasts and into veins, causing slow death. United States federal income tax dollars have supported dictators whose soldiers have shoved bayonets and clubs into women's vaginas and into men's assholes, causing rupture and death. United States federal income tax dollars have supported dictators whose soldiers have committed all kinds of atrocities. If we have a conscience, how can we pay 1 penny of federal income tax for such insane, evil, cruelty? And one of the best ways to refuse to pay federal income tax for these horrendous evils is to live simply below the taxable level. I have lived well for many years below the federal income taxable level. I have paid not one bloody penny of federal income tax for 42 years. I refuse to pay for the U.S. government to rob, to torture, to cripple, to blind, to make homeless, to murder many millions of our sisters and brothers worldwide. Almost half of federal income tax goes for war. Past wars, present wars, future wars. And some people will say, well, but the other half, a lot of that goes for good things. Well, certainly better than war. But I ask you, if someone comes to your door collecting money, and you say, what is it for? Well, says the person, some of it's going to go to our local library, and some is going to make better streets, and some is going to pay medical insurance for those who don't have money. But you keep pushing that person, and what else is it going for? And if the person finally tells you, Well, almost half of it will go for killing your neighbors on the street. Would you pay? Would you pay? Would you contribute if you knew almost half of it is going to kill your neighbors on the street? Are the neighbors abroad less precious, less human than our neighbors on the street? David in the Bible wrote many psalms. He wrote Psalm 23 that many Protestants and Catholics love. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. But in war, David killed far more people, tens of thousands, the Bible says, far more people than any U.S. street gang member ever killed. David killed far more people, tens of thousands, than anyone sitting on death row in this nation. And never once in the Bible did David repent or ask forgiveness for his mass murder of people in other nations. Never once. They didn't count. They weren't fully human to David. And sadly, many Protestant, many Catholic military veterans today show no guilt, no regret, no apology for killing people in other nations. But some of those same veterans would call for the death penalty for someone killing one person in this nation. Makes no sense. The Bible contains both evil poison and precious wisdom. The Bible says God commanded the mass murder of every man, every woman, every child in Palestine. All Bible verses that support war are evil poison. The Bible's precious wisdom teaches us to love, to forgive, to do good to our enemies, to treat all people as we want them to treat us. The Bible's precious wisdom teaches us to live simply, to live fairly in our world family now of approaching 8 billion people, to live humbly. So read the Bible with extreme caution if you're going to read it. Spit out its poison and take to heart its wisdom and aim to live that wisdom. Use compassion, use fairness for all people, men and women, young and old, whatever color, whatever background, whatever continent, whatever nation, as the main test to separate the Bible's poison from its wisdom. My mother was my all-time closest friend. She taught me to speak truth as best I see it. And we constantly can learn till our last breath to understand truth better. She taught me to stand publicly for fairness for all people. Sugar is as addictive as heroin, and I've had dear friends addicted to heroin. Sugar is far more addictive than cocaine, up to 8 times more addictive than cocaine, or as addictive as cocaine. And white flour turns to sugar when digested. Sugar, white flour, sodas are slow poison. Diet sodas, artificial sweeteners, slow poison. And the earlier that kids get addicted to sugar, the more likely they will stay addicted for life. We can change, and I changed, but it can be a long, hard road for many people to stop the sugar addiction. Do most adults realize that feeding kids candy, feeding kids sodas, feeding kids processed crap is child abuse? No matter how much the child wants it, is addicted to it, it's child abuse. Sugar causes or worsens 60 diseases, including cancer, allergies, heart disease, all infections, including COVID, kidney stones, fat bodies, gallstones, arthritis, alcoholism, other drug addiction. Sugar causes or worsens asthma, weak bones, diabetes, indigestion, insomnia, headaches. Sugar causes or worsens depression, cataracts, high blood pressure, mental illness, and what I well know from my own early years of severe addiction to sugar, tooth decay. Many years ago, my mother and I both were terribly addicted to sugar. But seeing her suffer hell for decades woke me up. And now I eat healthier than most millionaires or billionaires, even though I live on far less than the U.S. poverty level. I eat no processed crap, no sugar in anything, no white flour, no artificial sweeteners. Sweet crap sickens and kills millions of people. Sugar is the gateway drug. Sugar is the gateway drug. What disturbs us more? Police murders of people of color or the destruction of property? Now, don't get me wrong. I do not support the destruction of property. Who of us want our possessions destroyed? by someone. But the worst property destruction is done officially by the United States and by many other governments in war. Why do Hollywood actors get filthy rich glamorizing murder and property destruction? Why do creators of violent video games make millions? How would I feel if every day I feared police beating or killing my growing son because of his black skin? Do I speak up when family or friends make racist jokes, racist insults? White silence is violence. And why did African American George Floyd suffer execution by cop for a $20 counterfeit bill, while U.S. corporations legally steal billions? Why did African American Eric Garner suffer execution for selling a cigarette, while politicians get reelected for supporting U.S. mass murder in U.S. wars? Is looting U.S. businesses more evil than the U.S. empire's routine, deliberate looting of whole nations for their resources, for their cheap labor? For decades, the U.S. empire has seduced, recruited, trained black and brown people and low-income white people to loot, to murder, to die as U.S. soldiers. And far deeper than some bad apples in police departments, the problem is the rotten tree of 400 years of brutal white supremacy toward black people, toward native people, toward brown people. And how many thousands of people of color were beaten and murdered because they were not white before body cameras and smartphones showed the bloody truth? Hot sex for both men and women requires good blood circulation to our genitals. Cigarettes damage the heart and the blood vessels. If a healthy man and I are strongly attracted to each other and we make love, I want to swallow his manly essence, his cum. But sadly, a smoker's cum is contaminated with many poisons, no matter how sexy he looks and how kind he is and how honest he is. The smoke of one cigarette contains 4,700 different chemical compounds, and 43 of those 4,700 are proven to cause cancer. And of course, not only in the man's cum, if he's a smoker, but in any of the man's body fluids or of the woman's body fluids if she is a smoker. Nutritionist Roger Williams in the 1950s proved that not enough nutrients can cause alcoholism. In experiments with rats, only 10% of those with full nutrition became alcoholic. And when nutrients were cut by 1/3, about 33% of those rats became alcoholic. And when nutrients were tripled for supernutrition, only 1% became alcoholic. And in a study on people who boozed and smoked, an amazing 80%, 4 out of 5, stopped boozing and stopped smoking without even trying when they received super nutrition. And Dr. John Douglas found that booze and cigarette addiction went away when those patients ate only raw foods. Only raw foods. No willpower needed. Raw foods tell our bodies what is good and what is bad for our health. Dr. Joseph Beasley, years ago, started a clinic for alcoholics in New York that had the highest success rate in the nation. And years before, he, Dr. Joseph Beasley, was severely alcoholic himself. His own brother, who was a lawyer, died young from booze. The foundation of Dr. Beasley's recovery from alcoholism and his spectacular clinic's treatment success was good nutrition. Feeling stressed, if you are trying to break the smoking habit, take deep breaths, go for a long walk in nature, enjoy a short siesta. We all have a reservoir of stubbornness, a powerful energy that we can use to bless us or to curse us. If you smoke, use your stubborn energy to stop smoking. Fall in love with your body, with being healthy and feeling fine. And when stopping smoking or any other bad habit, find a greater pleasure. Substitute a greater pleasure, something that helps you and helps others instead of harms. Good night.
Live every day as if it were the last, because before you know it, time goes past and life's just not that long. Tell all you love that you love them so, because even if you do, they might not know, and one day we'll all be gone. Taste the wind, don't let it blow on by. Sing songs of love, let the music get you high. And when it's said and done, you'll know the sun will shine on. And when it's said and done, you'll know the sun will shine on. And when it's said and done, you'll know